The Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge has seen some twists and turns of late. At Lime Rock Park, the Grand Sport class leading Stevenson Camaro got into their nearest title rivals from Rum Bum Porsche. 2 weeks later at Road America, Rum Bum posted a dominating victory, closing to just 15 points behind their Chevy rivals in the standings. Meanwhile, in the Street Tuner division, a pair of Mazdas from CJ Wilson Racing and Freedom Autosport have traded podiums since March and now sit just 2 points apart for the title. The championship stretch drive continues today at America's Motorsports Resort, VIRginia International Raceway. Join us here on Fox Sports 1 for the Oak Tree Grand Prix at VIR, starting now. Ask stock car fans about Virginia racetracks and they could mention Richmond, Martinsville, or South Boston. But for road race fans, the unanimous place to race is VIRginia International Raceway, site of today's Oak Tree Grand Prix, Round 8 of the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge for 2015. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha, along with Calvin Fish and Justin Bell. Just a couple of races ago, our championships in both the Grand Sport and Street Tuner division looked like runaways. But Calvin, coming here to VIR, it's a whole different championship picture.
Well, it really is, Bob. Following that disaster at Lime Rock Park for the Rum Bum team, suddenly this championship was blown wide open. A 24-point lead for the number 6 Camaro. But then Rum Bum rebound at Road America, get the win, suddenly 9 points off of that lead, and it's game on again. And the big question is, JB, with 3 rounds to go in this championship, what is the psychology now for that number 6 Camaro? How do they avoid going into panic mode?
Well, they're in a real pickle, aren't they? And not entirely by their own making. You see, traditionally, Stevenson are a team that come on strong during a season and take a series at the end of it. But right now, it's exactly the inverse. And to be honest, a win is the only way they can set things back on course. But there are a lot of teams that would like to get between these championship contenders and spoil that party. For more on that story, let's head down to Brian Till.
Well, thank you, Justin, and you're right. There are several teams that have the strength and the talent to steal points away from the Stevenson group. Let's start with the number 14 Doran Racing Nissan 370Z, driven by Brad Jager and BJ Zacharias. They qualified on pole here, coming off of 2 straight podium finishes, fast and consistent. They're sure to figure into the championship. The number 41 pairing of GT Academy grads Nick McMillan and Nick Hammond has been quick, especially here, qualifying outside the front row. And don't count out either of the Multimatic Mustangs, especially the 158 of Jay Buford and Oster Cindric. They tied for 3rd in the championship with Zacharias and Jager and have win this season at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. That's it from Grand Sport. For more on ST, here's Jamie Howe.
Well, Brian, starting up front in ST are the defending event winners, Eric Foss and Jeff Mosing. It was Jeff Mosing's first pole position of the season, second for the Murillo Racing team, who are looking to make a late charge in the championship, but they have yet to win a race so far this season. The championship leading number 5 from CJ Wilson Racing starts 12th with Chad McCumbee and Stephen McAleer, while the second place, number 26 from Freedom Autosport, starts 6th with new driver pairing of Andrew Carbonell and Tom Long. Long's filling in for regular driver Liam Dwyer, who is unable to race this weekend for medical reasons, but that will unfortunately take him out of the championship hunt. Guys.
All right, thanks very much, Jamie. Now let's take a look at Virginia International Raceway from a driver's perspective. Justin?
And the drivers love it. Compare it to some of the world's top tracks. 3.27 miles, 17 corners, just like Sebring, to be fair. It's the S's, the climbing S's, that are so demanding on all the drivers. And then you come down the back straight, top speed, super fast, over 170 miles an hour. Braking requires great bravery. Come through 17, even the start-finish corner has a bend in it.
Across the top of your screen is our Continental Tire starting grid. Brad Jager took his first pole in the GS category with a new track record. Jeff Mosing has the pole in Street Tuner. Here's a look at our onboard cameras. You've already heard about the story among the Mazda MX-5s, the 25-26 cars. Note the number 78 Ford Mustang Boss 302R up right of your screen. That camera was in the number 15 Multimatic Shelby on Friday when this happened.
Well, you talk about the demands of this racetrack. Scotty Maxwell here gets it a little bit wrong in the roller coaster. You see the impact. They had to scrap that car for the weekend and bring in a backup.
That backup is another Mustang Boss 302 from Multimatic. From our Nissan pace car, you see Nissans across the front row. And I'm telling you guys, this is the team. Doran Motorsports with these 2 Nissan 370 RXs. Fastest cars that have yet to win a race this year.
Absolutely, they've been knocking on the door. It's just a case of executing, getting the strategy spot on. No mistakes, they could get it here today. Great qualifying performance, sweeping the front row.
Let's be precise, Nissan 370Z. In the hands of Brad Jager and Nick Hammond.
There's a lot of people right behind them, though, Bob. We're going to have something to say about that.
This is our GS field. The ST category will have their own start. You see them coming over the hilltop in the background. But onto the front straightaway they come. And Brad Jaeger, Virginia born and bred, now living in the Charlottesville area, working on his MBA. Today he's working on the first victory of the year for his team and for Nissan.
Green, green, green.
To the start-finish line they come at full chat, and we're racing at VIR.
Keep an eye on Hugh Plum on the outside there. It is wide open going down into this first corner. There are many lines, many ways to cut this corner, Calvin, and everyone's going to use every square inch of this track.
Yeah, Plum was looking for the outside line, but Jade Buford took that away. Here comes the ST start.
Green, 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 green.
Hear that thunder as those 16 cars head towards the start-finish line. Look at them from our camera angle, 4-5 wide, Calvin. That is great stuff as they head down in there.
It really is. The two Camers try to tuck to the inside, but Piscatel takes that Mazda the long way around and holds on to the second spot.
The next corner, of course, is a left-hander, so he's on the right position to hold it through into the very tight sequence that leads on to the uphill stretch to the S's.
Tanto looking for a way through. He takes third spot away in the BMW for Bimmerworld.
Yeah, keep it nice and tidy. Don't hit the apex too hard on the inside there. Whoa, a little sideways as he comes off. That's the trouble. His tires aren't quite up to speed, even though the track temperature is way up there.
That has been the action complex of the weekend thus far. Very tricky section of racetrack.
Call this the snake. We're on board with the number 25 of Casey Jr. Along with his teammate there as they head down to these high-speed S's. Beautiful part of the racetrack. Such great flow and rhythm here.
And all the drivers who tell you if your car is set up right, you are flat in top gear through those uphill S's.
You did see, though, everyone settles into a natural single file there because you do not want to be doubled up going through those S's. And now they're coming famous old oak tree corner. The oak tree no longer there. We have a nice little story on that later, but they're winding their way onto the back straight. Really, Calvin, the best, most traditional area to think about setting up a pass at the end of this straight.
The key is getting good traction off of that very low speed corner. It's really going to be interesting. It's so hot here today. And one of the things about VIR between the ambient temperature and the track temperature is a big, what we call delta, a big difference there. You see extreme track temperatures here. And talking to the drivers this morning, that was the big concern. These Continental tires are great, but they're going to be going through extreme conditions here today with the extremely high track temperatures we'll see.
Look at the gap right up front for Brad Jaeger, drawing away from new second place runner Jade Buford.
A lot of action must have gone on the last half of that lap because basically Hammond fell all the way back to fourth there. So
now he's back to third, so he got back around Hugh Plum, and there we see the first of the Stevenson Camaros. That's Matt Bell there sitting in the fifth spot.
You guys watch Jade Buford working his way up in the 158 Mustang. Talk to that team. They had a 7th place finish at Road America. Brake problems. They've gotten it sorted out here. It was a low pedal at Road America. This racetrack a little bit more flowing, but you've got to use them hard. They've got that problem sorted out, and they're looking to get that Mustang to the front. They'd like another victory.
Keep in mind, this is a very new race car under Jade Buford. Ford Shelby GT 350 RC made its debut at our Watkins Glen round.
Look at this. This is very important. We talk about that championship scenario, JB, and the fact that the Stevenson group are being hounded by the 13 run bum machine. What the 9 car can do, the sister car to the 6, is get in front of that run bum car, knock them out of the big points. That is critical.
yeah, we saw them trying hard at Road America to do that. Didn't quite work out. Jamie?
You guys were talking about the track temperature and the tire temperature. I was talking with Chad Gilsinger in the number 93 from Hart Racing, most recent winner, and he said they've actually seen the highest temperature on the tire that they've seen all season. Yesterday it was at 270 degrees. They like to stay right around 200 degrees with those Continentals.
Saw a great move there by Ashley Freiberg, who had a stellar run to a podium run at Road America in our last round of the championship. She moves up a spot around Matt Bell to run in the top 5 with the Trimtex BMW.
Yeah, she certainly made the most of the balance of the BMW there under braking. I mean, really, she's really come on strong during this season, Calvin, hasn't she? And I reckon we can look for a good run from Ashley
And I think
today.
the Camaros would say the balance down the straightaway too. She just kind of drove by Matt Bell there.
When you think about it, as we pick up the top of ST right now, Stevens are running almost 4,000 pounds fully loaded with fuel and driver. That's a heck of a disadvantage going into this race.
Jeff Mosing led from pole in that bright orange Murillo Porsche Cayman. defending race winners with last year's class champion, Eric Foss.
Understanding there may have been some contact between the two Freedom Autosport Mazdas here. One, of course, is the championship contender. On board here with a 25, Rick Casey Jr. Down into that turn one braking zone. He just gets it wrong. He just misjudges that. Tries to avoid Tom Long. I think they may have clipped, and he gets into the grass.
On board the 26 now.
Oh, I can tell you he didn't want to do that anymore. Any more than the guy in front wanted him to. That was very unfortunate. Pushing hard, that's all, Calvin. Trying to push the limits to keep in front, or, you know, to get in front.
Andrew Carbonell started that car. He will hand it over to Tom Long later on. Long actually driving both of the Freedom cars in this race in the absence of Wounded Warrior Liam Dwyer, as Jamie described earlier. Break coming up as the action continues here on a very hot, humid day at Virginia International Raceway. We'll take a break and return with more of the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge. Welcome back to VIR, Virginia International Raceway. In round 8 of the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge, the Oak Tree Grand Prix. Just coming off our first full course caution of the race. We'll get you up to speed on that in just a little bit. Right now, it's time to go back to green.
Great restart there for Brad Jager. Oh, Polsitter took off a couple of corners from the green flag, so I'm sure they'll be looking at that a little closely. We see the Rum Bum car deep into the brake zone with Matt Bell right alongside. Freiburg sits there in 5th, and our championship leader, Andrew Davis, in the 6th position.
Yeah, I don't blame Brad for trying to be a bit racy at the start. He worked so hard to pull out about a 2-second lead just before that full course yellow, and he'll want to maintain that out front. You know, Jay Buford, he's very aggressive under overtaking. If he gets too close to Jager, it could be a bit messy for him. So Hugh Plum is working the scene very hard as well, Calvin, because right now Matt Bell is going to want to take that 3rd spot from him. But obviously Hugh, as we know, settles into the stint very well. The 81 Bimmer World spun on the outside of turn 1 there.
Tanto had a great start to this race, running up in the top 3, but there's been a lot of dicing going on in the ST class here today.
It's worth pointing out again, it is a very hot day, so grip is probably a little bit harder to come by than these drivers are used to.
Guys, just before we went full course caution, the Bimmer World team had set up for a pit stop. They thought there might be a problem with one of the tires on the 81 for Andre Hartanto. So I don't know if it was contact down there, or if you can see, perhaps he has a tire going down, some type of a problem with that BMW.
Meanwhile, Jade Buford, with whom you ride, is just all over the gearbox of Brad Jager's Nissan.
They were close enough to get a room all the way through those first corners there at the back through Oak Tree. He was pushing him the whole way through. Good racing as far as I'm concerned, Calvin, because he's got to keep the pressure on to stop Brad Jager from stretching his legs.
He really does, but the start of this race has really been dramatic as we see the Rum Bum machine suddenly coming into the pictures. Talking to Hugh this morning, he said hopefully on the longer runs we'll be strong.
Now let's get you up to speed. The early action and the yellow flag. Pretty harmless off here for Britt Casey Jr., bouncing those left side wheels and finally going off into the greenery.
Yeah, very high speed entry on there on the front straightaway, and here we see Hammond going hard at it with Jay Buford. Just gets it a little bit wrong at the end as the roller coaster and loses many positions.
Yeah, a lot more elevation change than you'd think there, Calvin, so easy to overcook it, especially if you get a little contact with another car.
Look at this racing here, just fantastic stuff. Dylan Murcock going side by side with Andre Hartanto in that Bimmerwald BMW. Good, clean racing.
And that is Tom Long in that car. He'll switch to the 25 later on. And here's what brought out the caution.
Yeah, you can see there the 75 goes down the inside of the 64. Makes it a little bit, way too aggressive. The 64 came off very badly. And actually the instigator, Paul Hulton, in the 75 able to carry on there. But tell you what, that was a pretty wild ride. 2 does not go into 1 through the S's, Cal.
Well, they tried to make it 3 into 1. That was the problem. That came and was the meat and the sandwich. I think it was the 38 as well was involved.
Yeah, Ted Giovannis' BMW is sidelined. Meanwhile, battle for the lead in Street Tuner here. Jeff Mosing started from pole, but Justin Piscatel is just all over him in the 34 and takes the spot.
That is awesome racing right there. Piscatel goes to the front. What a run Tom Long is having here. Trying to claim that 2nd spot. But Jeff Mosing is trying to hang on there. The Cayman has the better line as they enter the S's. Little twitch.
I was just about to say, he's going to have to back off in the Mazda. He's going to have to ease off a little because he had Piscatel had the line. You know, I mean, it's really, that almost went wrong.
Well, you've got to respect each other, otherwise you see the consequences we saw earlier in this race, bringing out the caution. Oh, a little bit argy-bargy there into Oak Tree from Tom Long, and loosens up Jeff Mosing.
You were saying?
Yeah, just enough to get by him on the straight there. That is so, oh, look at this.
Cayman coming
Beautiful.
through.
Okay.
Dylan Murcott, he's got a strong car underneath him as well.
That's as close as you can get, guys. Good shout out for his Twitter handles there on the hood. On the bonnet, as my people would say. Okay, right now, setting, you go down a
Jeff
little
Mosing,
decline.
look at him come. He's looking to the inside.
Yeah, brave move if you can pull that off. You kind of go down a dip, up a hill, into the braking through a left-hander, into this right-hander, downhill right now. All you're thinking about right now, Calvin, as you go through this sequence is not getting overtaken and getting a quick exit of 17.
Cameron Lawrence takes advantage. He takes a spot away from Jeff Mosing. So Mosing led as they crossed the stripe last time, but he's going to be down in about the 5th or 6th spot right now.
Cameron Lawrence in that black HART Honda Civic SI, replacing Ryan Eversley, who's not here this weekend. That car won our most recent race at Road America in Wisconsin.
Cameron does not have a lot of front-wheel drive experience, so he said he really tried to take it easy in the practice session, just learning this car. But the one concern they have is just running the front tires off that car. They're putting all of the work, all of the steering, all of the power through that front-wheel drive machine. And he said in these conditions, this heat is really tough to manage.
Lovely pass there. Tom Long slid down the inside there. Really, you know, it's nice. These guys are often able to run right up within millimeters and sometimes the other side of those millimeters, and they go through the corners. There's a lot of ebb and flow. You mentioned it earlier, Calvin, through this track, but it's also incredibly high speed, so it can go wrong in an instant.
Other side of the racetrack, pick up the GS battle. It's Brad Jaeger leading the way over Jade Buford of the Mustang, Hugh Plum in that brilliant blue and yellow rum bum Porsche, and then Matt Bell in the Stevenson Camaro Z28R.
Definitely see two packs of performance here, Calvin, don't you really? I think Plum and Bell have a similar one. I have to say, the Stevenson machine is running very well here, but here being my worry, I brought it up very quickly earlier, it's a heavy car when it's fully loaded. That means it's working those Continental tires, I believe, way more in excess of the Porsche and the Mazda and the Ford in front. So, you know, Nissan, sorry, in front. So the tires, I think, are going to drop off very quickly. They were telling me earlier, the guys at Continental have said, listen, you're on the threshold of anything we've ever done with these tires before, especially in this temperature. And, you know, it's starting to get into an unsafe zone if you keep pushing with the weight you've got.
Yeah, certainly tire temperatures today are on everyone's mind, but I think the big problem, as you can see there once again down that front straightaway, the Camaro, talking to the guys there, they say it's about 7 miles and off the front-running Nissans right here this weekend, so it's tough to do much with. They said the only real strength we seem to have left in the Camaro right now with the adjustment of performance is into the brake zone, but they've got a very smart team. They've just got to execute and not panic in the situation they're in, where they're seeing their championship contenders running a lot stronger than them today.
Up ahead, Ashley Freiberg continues in 5th place in her BMW. Her co-driver is with Brian.
Trent Hinman, defending champion in the GS category, making sure he's all buttoned up with the sponsor logos. Trent, right now, Ashley out there in 5th. She's the meat in the Camaro sandwich, it seems like. What does that BMW have for the big V8s that are around it?
You know, I don't know if we have the overall pace compared to them, but I know we definitely have the longevity. We're a great car over the stint. That's what we really focused on in practice, to have that speed at the end of the run. So I'm hoping that we can make a charge toward the 9 car in the coming minutes here, coming laps. But at the end of the day, these fall line boys did a hell of a job setting up this car this weekend. Ultimately, we're going to do the best we can. Again, we're very confident in our long run ability. And the Trimtex IHG Rewards Club Top 1 Oil BMW M3 is really performing well.
Well, we got a full course caution. Thank you very much. The other thing to point out about the 46, the 8th in the championship, that may open up their possibilities as far as a different strategy, guys.
Well, I know race drivers are superstitious, but somebody's got to get poor Trent a new Trimtex hat without the sweat stains.
He's so polished and professional, but definitely the hat needs a tune-up, or send it to the dry cleaners or something. Shame here, see Espen Lab out with the Aston Martin, some kind of issue here through the S's. I'm not sure if it's just drivetrain. We see a lot of oil there kind of behind him, so I'm assuming that's catastrophic in some manner.
That was a good call by race control. They didn't hesitate a minute, especially if there's an oil trail behind him. that is not the place to have someone join you. That's why you saw him exit the car. I don't believe it's because he's worried about the fire in that circumstance. It's because he doesn't want someone to come across the grass and clobber him. Fire and rescue here. Interesting to point out that VIR are self-contained in every way. They own all their fire and safety equipment. They train the entire crew. So they're quick to respond and very professional. Look at that smoke screen as he goes in there. Aston Martin full 007 Bond stuff that to put off the opposition.
Well, James Bond never blew an engine that I'm aware of. And that was a
but
big
he
one.
threw the switch with the smoke, Bob. You know he did.
The ejector seat, the machine guns. Yeah, I know.
32 minutes in here as we get another caution. This will be the longer caution procedure, which will allow guys to come into the pits. They'll close the pits initially, then it'll be GS first. And don't be surprised to see some of the teams, particularly the 6 car. I spoke to Michael Johnson, the team manager there at Stevenson. He said, look for us to roll some strategy plays here. We've got to get track position, then try and hang on. He said, we can't drive by anyone right now, so we've got to work some magic here, try and get our cars to the front of the pack.
Just outlast them. Well, looks like that little massive comprehensive overheating situation will take some doing, so we'll take this opportunity for a break. Stay with us here at VIR. Back at Virginia International Raceway, the field remains behind the Nissan pace car. Let's take a look at the pit stops in the GS category, and it wasn't exactly a thing of beauty.
No, it wasn't. Here we see the championship leader trying to make some hay here. They typically are so good in executing, but all good on the left side, bit of a delay on the right side. 14 car comes in from the lead. Brad Jager will stay behind the wheel. Minimum 45-minute drive time means driver changes cannot take place unless you do a double driver change and put him back in for points today.
This looked more like a comedy sketch. They will not want this replayed on their YouTube channel. The 158 made it out, but definitely lost some track position.
Long pit stop, actually, for basically all of those cars. Now it's time for the Street Tuner division to have their own trip to the pit lane. As the GS cars continue, Matt Bell of the number 9 Stevenson Camaro now on point. Here comes the Compass 360 Audi, penalized earlier for that contact that led to our first yellow flag. Black crew goes to work. CJ Wilson Racing goes to work on the number 5.
Yeah, different strategies playing out here. I don't see a lot of action from the camera angle right now with ST cars coming in, and they can do it on one stop. If you get to about the hour 10, hour 20 mark, and problem, no air on that gun, so something's pinched there in the line or the bottle's turned off.
Chad McCumbee remains in the car. Jamie.
Well, for the 75, it was fuel only stop, so just taking this opportunity to, I guess, get him some clean track time after serving that penalty earlier. So fuel only for the 75.
And a long stop here for CJ Wilson's team. Problems with the right side, as you said, Calvin. They qualified 12th, which is not at all where you want to be when you're leading the championship in the ST category. They did not run particularly well here last year. They're going to have to pick up the pace and get back in this hunt if they want to hold on to the championship, guys.
Well, we told you at the top of our show, the championship picture has changed a lot just in the last month, and it looks like it could change again today as the action continues at VIR, still with a long way to go. Back at VIR, back to green flag racing as Matt Bell, the new leader in the GS and the overall, leads Al Carter, and then the first of the ST cars.
Good for Al, a little bit sporty going down in there. Now, Al, was speaking to him before, he was a series regular for about the last 4 years. Very intense on having great racing and a good time, and he's doing really well. I know he's there by track position through the full course yellow there, Calvin, but good for Al holding his position at the front.
As I was saying, the ST cars, Dylan Murcott, the new leader in that class, ahead of Jessen Piscatel. As they perform a class split, as it's known, the GS cars all run together with the STs just behind.
Yeah, most of these ST cars did not take the opportunity to pit. I think there are only 2 or 3 cars on pit lane, so these guys will stop around the halfway point and take it the rest of the way and get their driver change done with that maximum drive time to consider. But what a great race this is up front we've seen today. Has mainly involved these 3 cars. Piscatel continues to lead. Dylan Murcott there very much in the battle along with Tom Long, and the 93 car with Cameron Lawrence is just hanging in there. He needed that yellow, cool those front tires off and try and stay in the mix.
Yeah, talking about temperature, Calvin, they were explaining to us, the track manager, because they've resurfaced this, and I was talking with one of the tire engineers earlier yesterday, because the surface of this track is dark black, this can run 15 or 20 degrees hotter than an older track, or maybe one with concrete or light-colored asphalt. 15 to 20 degrees just because of the absorbent nature of the surface.
As we saw Chad McCumbee bring his number 5 Mazda in for that pit stop, right side tires were changed, but I was talking to Stephen McAleer, that is not the problem. They've got a right rear shock that has failed. They'll have to run all day long. They only came in here with a 2-point lead in the championship over Andrew Carbonell and Liam Dwyer. And I got to believe that that championship is going to change complexions big time today. A broken right rear shock on the 5.
Well, that's huge, Brian, but I'll tell you what's changing complexion is the front of this race in ST. Look at this battle going on. Piscatell continues to lead. We saw Cameron Lawrence there get a great little bump draft, I think, from LaRue down the straightaway. Pushed him all the way up into the 2nd spot. Tom Long down to 5th.
I love a restart because it gives you a chance, just even if your car isn't as quicker or you're not as the guy in front, you feel you are, you can have a big racy moment. And tell you what, that Civic, we should watch this one over the course of the race, Calvin, because they really snuck up very progressively, didn't they, through Road America. And here he is having a bit of a shot there.
He looks to the inside and he takes the lead momentarily, but Piscatell's going to try and hang on around the outside here. It's one of those corners, a great corner, Justin, where you really can go side by side and keep it clean.
Because then, you know, you've got the inside here going into turn 4. You're able to work your way through. And if he can keep it clean here, and he's run very wide there, but keep it nice and neat, turn in on the brakes, rolling around, not hit the apex too hard, he's got the advantage of balancing his car to get a fast exit to head up towards the Essex.
Yeah, and that little Mazda just seems to be really strong on the longer runs here today. We saw cars quicker at the very beginning. It looks like on colder tires, guys that really had a chance to refresh themselves under caution here on the Civic. That looks good in the 93, but I think as these laps start to now get going again, that Mazda looks to be a very potent package once again as it continues to lead.
Piscatell is being, you know, he's making the most. He's got a little quarter of a second break up there through the S's. He was able to focus on his line. But I tell you what, one little bit of opposite lock, mate, and you are going to lose your position. Jamie?
Well, in talking to the guys, Chad Gilsinger and Cameron Lawrence before the race, they said one of the biggest struggles this weekend has been with reliability. They're having to run the engine 50% above stock just in order to compete with the rest of the competition, but they're having to run stock components on the cars because of the rules, so the reliability is an issue. It's frustrating throughout the season because the cars are prepared well. They're just not meant to run as fast as what they're racing right now. But I also want to go back to what you were saying about temperature, Calvin. Ambient temperature right now, 85 degrees. Track temperature, 128 degrees, or a 43 degree swing right now.
Yeah, and to put that into perspective, Jamie, a typical racetrack, you'll see about a 15, 25 as extreme. So to be thinking about a 43-degree delta there, that is massive, and that is why managing these tires is going to be so important today.
As you watch the cars race around this 3¼ mile, 17-turn circuit, much like Lime Rock Park, where we raced earlier this summer, there's been a tremendous amount of investment by the track owner and president, Connie Nyholm, and her staff to provide better sight lines for the fans, but more importantly, for the racers, using fences to deflect the cars away from abutments for the bridges and whatnot, plus the re-landscaping of the track to provide better sight lines and more runoff area for the racers. On the left, the Bimmer World BMW, big overheating problem. Brian.
Tyler Cook and Andre Hartanto had a great 4th place finish at Road America. That's not going to happen today. They qualified well in 4th. We thought they had a tire problem early, but when they just came in to do this stop, fire under the hood of the BMW. Crew goes to work quickly, gets that taken care of. We'll have to wait and see if the 81 can resume. If they can, they'll finish well down the order.
As soon as they use the fire extinguisher, it's such a mess. The mechanics go, okay, the fire's out and our work begins. Tell you what, great driving up at the front end of the field. The natural order of things is starting to assert itself. Al really holding on there. Al Carter back in this series, making a one-off appearance, a great opportunity, and showing the pace that he has shown before. I'm very proud. He's a good mate and driving very well. But Hugh Palm knows he's going to have to make a nice clean pass, Calvin, because he also knows that the 99 Aston is in no way in his race over the long haul. So he needs a good, fast, clean exit out of turn 17 and probably gets by him into 1 if he can.
Well, remember, these two guys know each other very well. They co-drove for a number of seasons in this championship.
So I'm sure Al will, if the opportunity comes, let him slide by. But Ashley Freeberg is, I mean, she's holding on the back of Hugh Plum very well there. And
She's doing a great job this season. I mean, really tremendous performances. And the BMW at the start of the year didn't seem to have the pace of some of their rivals. They got a little adjustment of performance a couple of races ago, and suddenly they're back in the mix. And it doesn't take much. I mean, you hear the teams, they're all making their statement about what we need to be more competitive, but it's a subtle thing. It can just be a few pounds, a little bit of restrictor, something like that, and suddenly you're back in the game. And when you give a little bit of an advantage back to a team like Four Line, led by Mike Harvey, they're going to take advantage of it and really turn it into a podium-winning car again.
Okay, you can see Hugh's got to try and make a move here because Ashley's getting right sporty right behind him. And, I mean, Al is now just a fraction slower than them, under braking through these tight corners. He has the legs as he goes down the straight, which makes it really hard for them to go by at the end into the easily sort of mastered overtaking zones. But up through the S's there.
That's where a car gets light. So if you touch somebody there.
Well, as we've seen, you touch someone there and it turns into a big, big incident.
Well, in turn 8, they actually shaved the curb down a little bit from last year. As you see Hugh Plum here getting really racy. He wants to way by his old teammate, Al Carter.
Yeah, his old teammate is pulling on his old buddy right now because, oh, Al runs wide, so Hugh's able to get through there.
There's a little bit of extra concrete outside of Oak Tree corner there that you can, in fact, use. Talking to the driver, they said, yeah, it's actually lap time. And talking to the race stewards here this weekend, they're going to allow him to use it, but Hugh Plum has a tremendous charge here. I think he'll take this position away from Al down into the brake zone.
Nice and clean. Al, stick it out there, mate.
Now Ashley Freiberg will have Al Carter to deal with. She's to stay close to championship challengers Rum Bum Racing. Another break. We'll be back to Virginia. Back at VIRginia International Raceway at the Oak Tree Grand Prix for the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge. Continental is the official tire of the Continental SportsCar Challenge, and a new set is going on the number 9 Stevenson Camaro with a driver change.
Yeah, Matt Bell was really starting to struggle for grip there. Remember, he did not take that early pit stop opportunity, so the tires were getting well worn. We've seen over the years Matt Bell demonstrate tremendous car control. He is using every ounce of that talent there to hang on to that Camaro. So split strategy here for the Stevenson group with the 9 and the 6.
Lawson Aschenbach takes over.
We're right up at the front. This has been amazing racing. Brad Jaeger is still out in the lead. Hugh Plum almost overtook him coming down into turn 1 on the last lap, so that is by no means a comfortable first place there. And Ashley Freiberg is, I mean, she's all over the back of Hugh coming down this back straight. This sort of natural order stuff has only just asserted itself, Calvin. And look at this pace of the cars as they head off down that very fast back straight.
Yeah, and you see the different lines there coming off the Oak Tree corner there. You can see Ashley using a little bit more of that runoff here, which is perfectly legal. You're not going to get dinged or brought into pit lane for exceeding track limits there. They've said you can use that. So some of the guys like to use it a little bit rougher out there, but it widens the radius of the turn and can give you a little bit more exit speed. And in essence, really allow you to straighten the hand and take some of the load off the rear tires.
Now let's take this opportunity to get you up to speed with what's happened since our last yellow flag. Tom Long in the 26, battling with Cameron Lawrence in the ST category.
For second place in the ST class right now, and this battle would not go away.
Yeah, it's you don't know who's overtaking who at any one moment as they come down past the start-finish line. The 93 was reasserting his position ahead of the 26, but this is a little more fiery.
Has the advantage. This is the 78 of Nick Galante. He lost the motor in a big way. Fire under the left rear wheel.
This is the 9 car starting to struggle for grip, and obviously the straightaway speed today is a problem also for these guys. You see Brad Jaeger getting very deep there, but manages to keep it together. A little bit later, the Rum Bum machine takes that position away as well.
Yeah, as you said, it was the time for the 9 to come in the pits. He had extended his time on track as far as he could. He didn't come in on the other full course yellow, and now he will be back out with a fresh set of Continental tires.
Ashley Freiberg looking very racy, or sporty, as Justin likes to say.
Yeah, that BMW looks really stable there, and you can see the platform. You see the Rum Bum Porsche kind of hopping its way through the S's. That BMW, the platform, the shock setup looks to be spot on here this weekend. And Andrew Davis, the championship leader, he isn't going away either.
Now he sees an opportunity, and behind him is the number 41 of Nick Hammond, the Nissan Nismo GT Academy graduate. To Jamie.
Matt Bell out of the number 9 from the race lead. What strategy for the Stevenson team? What condition was the car in after a full stint?
I mean, it's pretty rough. I mean, the Continental tires are great, but we're a really heavy car. We're the heaviest car in the field by a big margin, especially to the Nissan. I think we're almost 1,000 pounds heavier than the Nissan. So they're a lot easier to their tires, especially when they stick her up. We're just going to get eaten alive. You know, it's one of those things, we just can't race with the car that the series has given us at this point. We're heavy, we're 7 miles an hour slow on the back straight. We have a small benefit in braking, but when we're this heavy and the track's this hot, that benefit just erodes right away. I mean, Brad Yeager just drove by me like I was stopped. I had a good run off turn 11, still basically drafted me, popped around, and got in front of me for braking. So we need some help from the series if we're going to do much better than where we are right now.
Well, it was a great pit stop for your guys, and Brian, that's one of the strengths that this Stevenson team has.
The strength down here at Nissan, BJ Zacharias sharing that car with Brad Jager. That Nissan running very strong. BJ, you guys have had great runs. You've showed speed, 4 podium finishes. What's missing is a win. How special would it be to get it here, especially since VIR is a Nissan track?
It'd be great. Actually, I'd take it at any place, but at VIR being a Nissan track would be a little more magical, I guess. But right now, Brad's doing a great job. Kevin Doran's given us an awesome car here, and we'll just see what happens. Long time to go, so see how it goes.
Long time to go, and they are pressing hard. They've been so fast all year long. They want that victory before the season's out.
All right, thanks, Brian. And you're probably seeing the same thing we are. Smoke out of the back of the number 13 Run Bum Porsche.
Nice illustration there, Justin.
Yeah, I thought I was twizzling pasta for a minute. I was so built up, worked up during that last interview to show you the smoke coming out the back. And we had an interesting radio transmission. I believe in English it's translated in American as, "Oh my goodness, something's happening."
Oh, this is a problem because last year we saw some problems with this Run Bum machine getting to the finish, and right now that's a lot of smoke to be emanating from that car with almost an hour and a half to go.
Although he shot down the front straight, didn't he? You know, my lawnmower blew up like that once. It was the fastest cutting of the grass I ever had, and then it exploded all over the lawn. Engines tend to go fast.
You've got a flat 6 Porsche engine in your lawnmower?
Oh, what do you expect?
Derek Bell's lawnmower.
JP.
What else?
Yeah.
Actually, he did have a big engine on his lawnmower, I must say. Had to run behind it.
Well, we're laughing. The Rum Bum boys, I'm sure, are not. Looks like it's coming from the left side of the engine bay.
But I tell you, Ashley Freeberg is going to want to sort of capitalize on the wounded duck in front and try and go by. She certainly had the pace, and she's meanwhile defending against Nicholas Hammond behind. So,
yeah, Hammond's looked pretty quick here today. Looking at his lap times, he made that little mistake there going into the roller coaster and took through the grass. But with this yellow and subsequent caution, he's back in the game as he now looks to the inside of Ashley down into turn 1, tucks it to the inside and takes that position as the Run Bum machine encounters some traffic.
Chevy Thunder from the number 6 Camaro. Down to Jamie.
Well, guys, I ran down to Run Bum thinking there might be some frantic faces, but it actually couldn't be any further from the truth right now. I asked what the smoke is being caused by, and Joe Vardy just kind of shrugged his shoulders. They're not really sure at this point, but they're not in a hurry to bring him in either.
There's Joe Vardy on the left. Matt Plum on the right. Got to admire that kind of sang-froid in the face of potential adversity here with a championship at stake at VIRginia International Raceway. There they go, up through the S's. We'll be back with more in a moment. Back at VIR, the Oak Tree Grand Prix, round 8 of the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge for 2015 with Calvin Fish, Justin Bell, Brian Till, and Jamie Howe. I'm Bob Varsha, and we are open for business. GS Pit Stops.
Well, a great opening stint here for Brad Jake. He now turns it over to BJ Zacharias. Came so close at Road America. Can they make it stick this weekend?
Yeah, as we came back from break, you could see the number 14 Run Bum machine changing drivers there. Hugh getting out, Matt getting in.
As you can see, we're under another full course caution, our 4th of the event. Ryan.
Driver change is done, just waiting on right side tires. Now the 14 is down and away. Great opening stint by Brad Jager. Just a mark on the right front.
Key is going to be looking at that clock right now, Brian. An hour and 12 to go. These guys are looking at low 50-minute range for fuel, so they're definitely going to need to splash here unless we see a lot more caution here before the end of the race.
While we await the ST field and their pit stops, let's get you up to speed on why we're under caution. Good action on the track here.
See Nick Hammond here just get it wrong, and the S's loses the tail end of that Nissan, and then you see the subsequent action. There was an ST car in the mix.
That caught out Jade Buford. Just watch there in the background as he comes through, loses control, and he gets involved and clouds the Nissan and really causes the most damage to that race car.
Yeah, look, you can see from Buford's angle here, he checked up a little bit, got a little Scandi flick here that went all wrong. He flicked it the other way, slid across the grass just as a passenger, and unfortunately hit the instigator of that whole incident.
This is how you win championships, by avoiding the chaos. Andrew Davis showing his experience there, just sliding through nice and easy. And here we see the 41 car finally making its way back to pit lane. It's now back in the paddock.
Porsche came into Greg Streltsov, was that ST car in the middle of that Schmazel. And that's the reason why we're under a full course caution. Clock is counting down upper left of your screen. Plenty of action still to come here on the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge Trail. We'll be back to VIRginia International Raceway in just a moment.
Welcome back to VIRginia International Raceway, where the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge is underway right now. ST pit stops just happened under full course caution. Tom Long made a pit stop in the number 26 from Freedom Autosport. He got out of that car. Per the series rules, he had to jump back over the wall, then jump back into pit lane, where he's going to take over driving duties for the rest of this race behind the wheel of the number 25. After those pit stops happened, he dropped the number 26 back down to 5th, and the 25 is now running in 12th.
Well, you thought that was impressive. JB's illustration is getting awesome here.
Yeah. Tom Long is definitely earning his money this weekend.
Unfortunately, the ambience a little bit down today. Yesterday was brutal here, but certainly high temperatures, but not as tough for the drivers. Certainly track tempers up, but ambient is a little bit low, which will help.
And of course, all of that is because decorated war veteran Liam Dwyer could not compete this weekend due to a minor medical issue, but our thoughts go out to him.
Green flag, green.
And we'll see you at the next round at Austin, Texas. Liam. Meanwhile, we are back to green flag here. Lawson Aschenbach, who has taken over the number 9 from Matt Bell, leads Brett Sandberg in the 99, BJ Zacharias in the 14.
And the reason they rotate to the front was they'd already just been in, topped up with fuel, so it was a very short fuel stop, got the driver change done. But look at this. This is a championship battle we're looking at on screen. We're on board with Rob Liddell, who's taken over from Andrew Davis, and now is Matt Plum behind the wheel of the Rum Bum machine. But he's got a problem. Power steering issues is going to be tough for him.
It's going to be a really rough stint, but that's why he's trying to make the most of it right now. Looking down the inside, this is a very informative corner as you lead your way.
Hinman there, look at that. Hinman right side by side with Marcelli.
Good stuff. Little, as you say, Calvin, argy-bargy going up through those tight corners. But I tell you, Lawson Aschenbach is definitely going to want to put his foot down.
Rob Liddell told me this morning, he said, I am going to have to drive really hard, really aggressive here today. We can't afford to let this championship just dwindle away. We saw a 9-point swing at Road America. That is very much on their mind. But right now, this is not a bad picture for them, sitting right beside the guys who are contending for the championship with them.
We opened the show, Calvin, talking about spoilers for points. Right now, they're Aston Martin with Brett Sandberg behind the wheel, the 99. Is really a thorn in their side. And with Al Carter and now Brett, that car has certainly been right up at the front. Yet to see whether it can stay there throughout the whole stint, obviously. But Matt Plum has a mirror full of his competition.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting here. You can see the Porsche pull the Camaro a little bit. Is Hinman close enough to make a move in the BMW? As now we see a great battle. There was Cindric now behind the wheel of the 158 going after Kyle Marcelli.
Little bump there as we go to Brian Till.
Aston Martin running well in the hands of Brett Sandberg, but Al Carter, you started it. It wasn't that easy. Tell us about the problems and whether you got them sorted.
Well, the car was running great. You know, we were all in line, and we're just running with everybody, just biding our time. And then right there after that restart, I lost the dash and the ABS, so we lost kind of our electronic system. So we came in and we filled up. We did a quick control-alt-delete reboot, and we're back in action. But I'd like to say it's great to be back in the Continental Series. I've missed this, my first race this year, so enjoying it. And we're out there running good and automatic. Aston Martin is running good, so I think we're going to be really close to make it as everybody else is, so it should be fun to the end.
How is it out there running with your old, up against your old teammate?
Yeah, well, so, you know, Brent, he'll be fine, so it's all good, and glad to be back, so thanks, guys.
I think he quite caught the question there from Brian, talking about Hugh Plum competing for so many years with Al Carter, and they were going hard at it there in the early going.
New leader in the ST category, Spencer Pumpelly. And that RS1.
Heard that before.
Porsche.
And they adieu. Boy, oh boy, what a heartbreaker at Road America when they led until the very final lap. A couple of corners shy on fuel, and they had fuel in the car, believe it or not. It was a fuel pump issue with that Porsche that didn't get them the victory that day. So they've been very quick this year, a couple of victories. And Spencer right at the point once again.
Yep.
So you saw Eric Foss there, just going to say that the way they're carrying to, they almost wind themselves up through that bottom corner there, Bob, to propel themselves in the SD cars up through the S's, and they use a lot of momentum. That's why they kind of are no holds barred coming through that right-hander.
But you've really got to time it perfectly, or you can find yourself in the kind of situation we've already seen in this race.
All the ST cars are going to be pretty good on fuel. There's going to be an issue with the front-running GS cars right now, unless we see another caution. I think they're going to be probably 5 to 10 minutes shy. We'll have to see how it shakes out.
I mean, obviously for Spencer, he's probably the one that's really checking with the team that they're okay on fuel. As you said, it was almost disastrous for them. It was disastrous.
Sandberger's gone to the front here in the Aston Martin, gone around Lawson Aschenbach. So it's going to be curious to see how this one shakes out. BJ Zacharias in the 3rd spot. That car had tremendous pace in the early going.
And then Matt Plum and Robin Liddell in that championship fight. With more, here's Jamie.
Well, Hugh, we know your brother Matt out there right now doesn't have any power steering. It went out during your stint. What's it like to drive around VAR without it?
It's tough. I'm not going to lie. It's, you know, it's just going to make that job that much more difficult. But I think, you know, he's going to do the best job that he can possibly do with what he has. And we just need to collect some points and get out of here. But, you know, Matt's going to do a great job. I believe in him. It's my mom's birthday today. Happy birthday, Mom.
Yes, happy birthday indeed. It's going to be a rough day. Brian?
It could be a rough day if it stays green for the Doran Racing team. Calvin was just talking about fuel for the 14. I checked in with Kevin Doran right after that stop. He said, we can make it with one more full course caution. So they're going to roll the dice, hope that Lady Luck smiles on them. They're going to need that 5 or 10 minutes of caution to make it to the end.
Hugh Plum said it's going to be a tough day for Matt Plum, but they come from a good heritage. His mum is here today celebrating her birthday. She's an ex-Olympian, competed in the 1968 Mexico Olympics in GP dressage, a horse jumper, and also got a Pan Am medal as well. So they've got good stout heritage there. He's going to need all of that to hang on to that car today. Be like a bucking bronco, I would think.
Good genes, but does anyone else think Hugh Plum looks like Steve Martin?
He does.
He really does, doesn't he?
Let's take a look at that lead change as Spencer Pumpelly went to the lead in the ST category. Right up the middle, just the way the coach designed it.
Wow, this has been awesome racing here today, particularly through this section of the racetrack, through 2, 3, 4, and 5. These cars are a little bit smaller than the GS cars, and they're using every inch they can find.
Now in the GS category, here's an incident under review by race control.
Oh, that was a nice little bump and run there.
Austin Cindric.
Well, you know, it's tough down there. You're braking downhill. You're carrying that. There is, according to race control, no action going to be taken against that. And it was a strike almost at the bowling alley, that, because as you come down there, he almost cleared 2 cars out, but tough on the brakes.
Well, a lot of that comes from the mantra that the race stewards have said. If you are blocking, we didn't see what led up to that. I'm not saying Marcelli was blocking, but if you don't give the guy the room, you may expect to get a little bump, and we're not going to get involved in making a penalty call.
Race on. The gap, Spencer Pumpelly was able to open up over Jeff Mosing. Right now, Porsche Caymans and Mazda MX-5s to the 4 in ST. Back at VIR, where the battle continues here at the Oak Tree Grand Prix, round 8 of the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge for 2015. There's the battle for the lead. Brett Sandberg of the Aston Martin holding off the Nissan of BJ Zacharias. We go on board with BJ.
Sandberg doing a brilliant job here. For his teammate Al Carter in a great battle early on, and just a great performance. That Aston Martin is running very strong. Lawson Aschenbach has dropped back a couple of seconds from this lead duo, and Hinman is now up to 4th, getting around the Rum Bum machine. Let's take a look at a replay of how that happened.
Climbing through the S's. Hinman runs right behind the Run Bum Porsche, looks to the inside.
Wow, that is a brave move there. Whoa, awesome.
It took a little bit of player cooperation there, though.
Yeah.
To not touch each other.
There is up ahead. Great move by the young driver.
Liddell is right there too. He's trying to take advantage and get by Rum Bum, who he's in the thick of this championship battle with as well. But
and that battle went several corners before Matt Plum was able to put Robin Liddell in the rearview mirrors.
Remember, Plum is suffering with that power steering issue, so he may not be able to react as much and just turn the car quite as quickly and agile as normal.
But that was Matt's experience there as well that stopped contact between the two of them. Down to Jamie in the pits.
Well, Jeff Mosing's been watching on as this contact in ST goes on with his co-driver Eric Foss. But Jeff, when you were behind the wheel, I understand there was a little bit of contact also. What did that do to you mentally?
It's fine. You know, Eric Foss is really good at calming me down in the car. He came on the radio right away and just said, you know, don't worry about it. It's a long race ahead of us. Keep the car safe and straight. And that's all I wanted to do. You know, we had the oil spill, and that was kind of an issue for a couple of laps. But the important thing is you know, I'm not finishing. I'm not taking the checkered. I want Eric to do it, and he's doing a fine job. He's got us up into second place now.
A lot of guys this weekend have talked about how rough this track is on these ST cars and how damage happens very quickly. What condition is the car in right now as we look to get close to the checker?
You know, Ken Murillo's really, we've had this car a little over a year now, and he's really got it figured out. And what we really looked for in the car was to get it consistent through the whole stint. And the car barely went loose on me toward the end of the stint, so I'm really proud of them for getting the car up to speed. And you know, Eric shouldn't have a problem getting in there in the hunt with Pumpilly and the other the RS1 car. So looking forward to a nice finish.
Defending event winners. We'll see if they get their first win of the season, guys.
And the reason it's hard on the cars here is that to get lap time here, you've got to run those curbs. And talking to a bunch of the guys, they said it's really putting a heavy load on the power steering and basically getting a lot of kickback through the steering wheel as well when you're doing that. But there's no other way around. The racetrack's very smooth, and they didn't like the amount of dust that was kicked up through the S's, so they laid in this curbing. But the guys obviously lose every inch of road that you can, and it's really hard on the suspension systems.
I thought you were going to say it's hard on the cars, so they keep touching each other, Calvin.
Yeah,
that's the other side of the story. But as we ride back with Vijay Zacharias, he is actually, he looks in certain places he's able to catch up on Brett Sandberg in the 99 Aston. But I tell you what, oh, look at the cars getting a little loose. That was a very sort of sketchy place to get the car sideways as you go around the top right-hander there. They will be high at the top of fourth gear there. And I think Zacharias may have smelt a little blood in the water there. So
he smells something else as well.
Push hard as he comes down.
That's another place where the car gets light over the brow.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not pointed in the direction you want to be when you come down.
That gets your attention because it takes total commitment to get through those S's quickly. And if suddenly you have a big moment, now we see Vijay Zacharias getting a run on Brent Sandberg. He's got to the inside here, but he's going to take the lead. So nice job here so far for the 14 car from the pole. Have really controlled the race very, very well. Made good strategy calls today and good pit stops.
I mean, that Nissan is, we saw all through last year, didn't we? So well balanced, looked great, just didn't have the performance complete package. Now it's really come on strong. They're very confident on their mid-late run strategy and ability to be able to run fast. Up through the S's, they are spectacular. They can kind of keep that wide open throttle, little lift in the right place, far longer through the Targa generation than the other cars. It really is handling well. And of course, these very talented young drivers behind the wheel.
Yeah, certainly a lightweight car, which is good for the longer runs. Here we see the 9 car hanging on to that third spot. Hinman is coming after him, though. Matt Plum, and we hear the 6s in the pit lane. Is this a strategy call for fuel? Let's wait and see if it's a splash. Tires, Jamie.
It sure is, Calvin. They've got the fuel going in right now, as well as looks like just 2 new Continental tires. They don't have another set out over the wall right now. That's right, left side's only.
Well, we'll have to wait and see if they saw some data that showed a tire going down or whether Robin was struggling for grip, but it could just be strategy. We believe these GS cars are all a little bit shy on fuel. Maybe Mike Johnson is rolling the dice here today.
I don't know how well Sandberg and Zacharias get on, but I tell you what, it's very tough when you're in the running for a championship, isn't it, Calvin? You're in the running to keep consistent, good race results when you've got someone like the 99 out there, who really have got nothing to lose but put on a good performance. They've all got sponsors here. He's obviously got a new teammate with Al Carter this weekend, and they're touching. You see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. He's got nothing to lose but keep pushing hard. Jamie?
I just talked to Mike Johnson. They did not have a tire going down on that left-hand side. It was purely just a strategy call. They were going to be 10 minutes shy on fuel to get to the checkered flag without any more caution. He said, we might as well just get out of traffic right now, make this pit stop, and get back onto a clean track and see what we can do with that.
Yeah, well, he told me this morning we're going to be aggressive. We've just got to play some different games here to try and get track position today. We're not going to drive to the front.
To Brian.
And in the Multimatic camp, Scott Maxwell sitting up on the box. Scott, it has been a difficult weekend for this team. How tough is it to transition between the GT350 RC and going backwards to the older Mustang? I understand it rolled off the track in Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca into the shop, and it hadn't seen daylight since then.
Yeah, it's a true story. I mean, we've been so busy with developing the new Shelby and the 4GT program, so it sat in a corner. And first of all, I got to thank all the guys at Multimatic, Jeff Ripley and their whole crew. Entirely my fault yesterday throwing a car off the road for no good reason other than lack of talent. So they did a great job getting this car down here. Adjusting to it wasn't too bad. I took it either 4 or 5 laps, but there's not, I've been driving that car for 5 years, so it all came back pretty quick. We're just down a little on power. Other than that, it's handling really well. We took a shot at it with setup, and they did a fantastic job. So our car's really good on old tires, so we got Billy Johnson in there, and he's great with when the track gets slippery, and we'll hope something happens at the end.
Never any quit in this team, guys. They drove that car down overnight from Toronto.
It's been a rough road for that team. I mean, they've certainly seen success with the new platform, but that car's had 3 shunts. It only debuted at Watkins Glen at the end of June.
I went over and looked at that car when it got back to the paddock area, and the front end was just shifted about a foot to the driver's left. That was a huge impact. Scott Maxwell may be a little hard on himself. It's a very tricky part of the racetrack. I'm glad he was all right. We'll take a break and return to VIR. Just under 36 minutes remaining in round 8 of the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge, the Oak Tree Grand Prix from Virginia International Raceway. New leader in the overall and GS division, Brett Sandberg and Aston Martin to the front over BJ Zacharias. Here's how it happened.
Well, the run up through the S's, and here we see in brake zone for turn 11, right before the Oak Tree turn, Brett Sandberg just slides that Aston Martin down to the inside and retakes the lead once again. It's been a fascinating battle, but there's more to this story. We talked about fuel strategy. Let's listen in to the communication between BJ Zacharias and Kevin Durant.
I've been short shifting this whole time.
Well, you better short it more.
I mean, let him go around?
Yeah, that'd be good, or you ain't gonna make it.
I love that. Keep doing what you're doing, but you're going to be shy.
Yeah, you won't be doing very well at the end if you do that. Yeah, that's the voice of experience, the voice of reason. Kevin Durant, I said to him earlier, I said, Kevin, I've seen you over the last 3 decades, and you haven't really changed much. And he said, working with these young drivers just makes him feel very old most of the time. Brian, what do you got?
Hey guys, I was talking to BJ Zacharias earlier in the weekend, and you guys were talking about how hard they were racing a little bit earlier, and he said, I think maybe I need to be more aggressive. Maybe I need to move people out of the way a little bit more. We could have won a race or 2. And I said, yeah, well, the officials could have taken those away as well. So he's going to drive clean. I just checked with Kevin. He said, indeed, they are a little bit short. Came down here and after Dave Russell about fuel, and he just smiled at me and said, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So there's a little bit of a game being played up front with fuel. One thing we know for sure, the 14's going to need it.
Yeah, and I think the Aston Martin will as well. I think all these front runners pitted on the same lap, so there's not massive differences between the different marks. Certainly how the driver manages that fuel throughout the stint. You can't just suddenly get to the end and say save a bunch. It's too late at that point. You've got to do it right from the get-go, and that needs to be communicated when you first go out. It's like, listen, we're beyond our normal fuel range here. If you want to think about not making a splash at the end, start saving fuel now.
Difficult track to do that on because it's so on it the whole time. But I tell you what, Trent Hinman's coming up a little quick on Zacharias too. So no one's actually able, unless you want to lose direct, immediate track position, backing off is going to have a track position effect immediately.
Well, short shifting the car basically means you're not running it to the high RPM where it burns the most fuel between each gear shift. You're going to that high gear, but the main way of saving fuel is to coast into the brake zones. A fast race car driver typically goes from the gas pedal to the brake pedal. To save fuel, you need to have a delay between the two, so you don't go all the way up to the braking point with full gas. You roll out of the power a little bit earlier, but it does cost some lap time.
Normally, somewhere like Le Mans, you couldn't do that because you have such long straights, such long braking areas. And in fact, especially when you're running carbon brakes, as we talk about during the Le Mans broadcast, you're able to brake so late. And those brakes like this, still brakes like this, it doesn't really, you can't brake that much later.
Talk all the time about brand diversity in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. Right now up front, you've got Brett Sandberg in an Aston Martin, BJ Zacharias in the Nissan, Trent Hinman in a BMW, Lawson Aschenbach in a Camaro, Matt Plum in a Porsche, and Billy Johnson in a Mustang. Doesn't get more diverse than that.
Spencer Pompelli has been basically showing everyone the big stick since he got to the lead, and he had that very decisive overtaking move down the middle of his competition, but he's been running. I mean, I tell you what, 3 to 7 tenths quicker on a clean lap than the others. So really good driving from Spencer.
It's all Porsche up front right now as they run 1, 2, 3. Remo Rashidi is running in the second spot. Eric Foss down in the third position there, and Carbonell. And if they were to finish in that fourth spot, the Max, McAleer and McCumbee back in the 9th position, they would take over the lead tonight, as in actually it's just Andrew now, of course, with Liam Dwyer missing in action here today. Just be Andrew Carbonell who would take the points lead.
Here's a look at the points as they run. Carbonell with now a 4-point advantage over previous leaders, McAleer and McCumbee. Foss, the reigning champion, still not out of it.
2 rounds to go after this championship round, so 36 points on the table for a win and starting the race. So there's still a lot to be gained here, particularly as deep as the fields are here in this championship. If you have a problem, everyone's still in the mix.
Look how late they brake. That is a long back straight there. Real top speed.
Tricky braking zones too. You're floating the speed and you're turning and braking at the same time. So it's not just hard braking in a straight line. You're trail braking into these corners, and that's really, really tricky to get it right.
It's an interesting track as a driver because as you go through your stint, you are able to effectively net out the same lap time, but by personally modifying your driving, feeling the tires. If you're a driver that's just like a caveman with a mallet, you can't do it. Your car will drop off a lot. If you're someone that can feel the car and see how, especially up to the S's, especially through turn 17, you massage the car a little tighter, don't let it have its head and run all the way out the edge, you're able to keep the same kind of lap times. So a lot to it. Jamie?
Well, you're just showing the onboard for the number 26. I just checked in with the team, and Andrew Carbonell right now is saying that he's managing the brakes on that Mazda MX-5, but his teammate this weekend, Tom Long, he's having to work a little bit harder behind the wheel of his Mazda with an alignment issue. Remember, he just started the race in that number 26, so he's feeling the burn right now, as they say.
That's right. That 25 was taken off track early in the race by Britt Casey Jr., who started it. Caveman with a mallet, Justin? Wouldn't he be using a club? Would that be more appropriate?
It's amazing the things that this team and Matt have been able to do. 21 wins. That's unbelievable.
A large portion of my success is, if not all of it, is due to the guys from Rum Bum. I mean, there's a reason that every winning driver, when they get out of the car, they thank their guys, because they know in their heart that they are really the true winners in this whole operation. So I've been fortunate to be surrounded by really good people, have great partners with, obviously, our owner, Louis Picardi, and especially with Joe Vardy. He has taught me so much about so many things, some things I never even thought I needed to know about.
And that, of course, is all about that man, Matt Plum, currently shown in 5th place in GS class. Victory at Road America was the 21st of his career, breaking a tie with Sylvain Tremblay for most all-time in the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge.
And a lot of Sylvain Tremblay's victories came alongside Joe Vardy as well as part of that group. So certainly, oh, here we see a quick spin for the 11.
That is a horrific place to be stopped. Oh, get it around, mate. Good job. A little, not quite blind there, too. He couldn't have seen for example, when he saw the 158 come up there, he wouldn't have been able to see him for very far. So
your heart rate is definitely up when you're pointing in the wrong direction through a high-speed series of corners like that one.
They've had an interesting day in that car. Whoop, trunk lid loose on the 74 Compass 360 Audi.
Here and everyone in GS is on a fuel-saving mode right now. More radio chatter, particularly with the 99R leader. Being told to save fuel, but again, you've got to start at the beginning of the stint. You can't do it, you know, with 23 minutes on the board. There's not enough time to make enough difference. Brian?
You're exactly right. I checked with David Russell, and I said, are you on the radio telling them to conserve fuel? And he said, yeah, they have it figured that they're 1 minute short. So that's not nearly as short as it is for the 14 guys down at Doran Racing. And that Nissan also checked in with the two RS1 Porsches, the 17 and the 18. They should be good on fuel. Everybody remembers that heartbreaking final lap at Road America when Spencer Pumpelly ran out of fuel. They've assured me that will not happen today. They've got fresh batteries in the calculator and new fuel pumps in all three of those Porsches.
Yeah, Spencer's had 2 or 3 victories over the last handful of years. Get away from him running out of dregs of fuel. Big one at Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca Bowl, which was tough. 2 times at Road America.
Yep.
And you know, he's never going to be on Saturday Night Live, is he? So you know, you see him go from miserable, slightly dour to miserable, and I feel sorry for the bloke. He knows what I mean. Spencer's
he's fast.
He's
Spencer's
fast.
Just fast.
He's fast, and he doesn't need to be funny. I needed to be funny because I wasn't fast.
I tell you what, I've been watching Brett Sandberg up there, and that car is sliding everywhere.
I think he's just going for
He's having
broke
fun.
here.
Yeah.
He's having a great time. And do you know what? He's fast enough. He's got about half a second in hand generally when he wants to, Calvin. So he should be able to save fuel if he can, because all he has to do is get by a car like this, allow BJ to come up a little bit from behind, and then extend out again.
Well, the key is if he's only saving a minute versus 10. I mean, you can save a minute in,
You can save a minute.
21.
Yeah.
But if you're saving 10 minutes in 21, it's not going to happen. So that's a big difference. Big difference in the number we're hearing between automatic racing and the other GS cars right now.
For a while, that's what I'm talking about.
Fuel may not be his issue if he carries on doing that.
And that taillight assembly of the right rear that's been flopping around for lap after lap after lap is now gone. I hope it's in a safe place.
Yeah, in someone's grill, actually, probably, Bob. Somewhere.
What
You
I'm
see, this is
talking
good for him. But I tell you what, Zacharias is just carving through that traffic. They want, and they'd like a race win. So, saving fuel, I tell you what, look at their lap times. It's not obvious how they're doing that, is it, Cal?
It really isn't. And getting back to Rob Liddell, remember they made the strategy call of topping him up with fuel and putting 2 left side tires on. He sits 46 seconds behind the leaders right now in the 7th position. To come down pit lane costs you just shy of 30 seconds. So I don't see how this one's really going to work out for the 6 car right now, but certainly Mike Johnson always seems to pull a rabbit out of the hat in these race conditions. So we'll have to wait and see if it comes back to them.
So on board with Andrew Carvanel, heading down the back straight there. You see the speed of the GS cars ahead as he shot off, but Carvanel lying 4th in class. Boom! Lawson Ashmanback goes by. Oh, 158. Not a good day for them. They've been battered around a bit, but
I can't get it in any other gears.
Uh-oh. Stuck in gear is Austin Cindric.
Well, amazing, actually. This car came out of the box so strong. They obviously did a bunch of testing with the new platform, with the Shelby, but as in recent rounds, we've seen more issues, braking issues. We saw an exhaust header problem at the last round at Road America as well, and now sounds like a transmission issue for the 158. So you never know. You get a few miles on the beast, and suddenly you start to feel and see different things.
Body damage as well after that off at just about the point of the racetrack where Austin Cindric is right now. Meanwhile, we are green. Sandberg over Zacharias. Everybody with fuel concerns and less than 20 minutes to go.
I think it's taking a little bit of the fire out of the battle right now because everyone's just kind of thinking about that fuel number more than track position right now because they realize the last 10 minutes is when this race is going to come alive, when people are either going to have a hit pit lane or just go for the win.
And that also means making sure if you do have to come in, and that's when those calls come into play, Calvin, isn't it? Are you going to come in and make sure you have enough time left to launch an assault? Also, you don't want to burn your tires up. You can put the fuel back in, but have no ability to fight. So The teams are working just as hard, the strategists just as hard as the drivers right now.
Blue flag waves as the GS and ST cars mix it up. Around the oak tree corner they go, where there's a new oak tree, by the way, planted with an acorn from the old one. Coming up on 15 minutes remaining in round 8 of the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge here at VIRginia International Raceway. It's the Oak Tree Grand Prix on Fox Sports. Riding along with the second place Nissan 370Z of BJ Zacharias, looking ahead at the Aston Martin of Brett Sandberg. 1-2 in Grand Sport.
Well, this is heating up, and you can see the clock ticking away under 15 minutes now, but we're hearing that all these front-running GS cars are in some kind of fuel issue, as in not having enough to get to the checker.
There's a look at our Continental Tire race recap. Sandberg leads Grand Sport. Spencer Pumpelly in a Porsche in-street tuner. 3 cautions for 10 laps. We had 1 a year ago. Lead changes 8, make that 9. Here comes Zacharias back around Sandberg. Let's listen to a radio transmission for the 99 car.
So if you do have to go to the reserve, you will have to pit, okay? If you go to reserve, no matter where you are, you will pit.
Basically, that's basically just giving communication. If you hit the reserve pump, don't stay out. You're not got an extra lap. It's basically 1 lap and in.
Yeah, I mean, does he know right now the fuel status of the Nissan in front?
Well,
they've probably got a pretty good idea on it.
46 car is in pit lane, so the big question is now, where is the 6 car? Can the 46 car take a splash and beat the 6 car that is on pit lane? Brian?
Fuel only, obviously. The trunk is up. You hear the crew member counting. It's going to be a timed spot.
8, 9, go.
Go.
Go, 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 go.
He held it just a little bit too long, and those precious seconds. Now the car will not refire. Trent Hinman having a hard time getting the BMW started, and that is going to be painful.
Well, I wonder if they ran him completely out and there's some kind of starvation in the fuel system. That's probably what caused it.
A little bit of vapor lock.
Should have tried to get it fired up before whilst the fuel was going in rather than waiting, or maybe even was.
Well,
where is the 6?
Yep.
Yeah, the old adage of the most vulnerable time for the race car is when it's in the pit lane. Still
the
rings
6 car
true.
got around him, mate, so that's important for the championship.
Meanwhile, back up front, Zacharias over Sandberg.
Wow, look at these two. They've been going strong. Hey, just very quickly, you know, today, the 22nd, apparently is called Buddy Check Day. A 30-year Navy veteran told me that today. It's a day that forces people reach out to friends or people they know had a tough time coming back, and you just pick up the phone, you call them, and check in on them. So it's Buddy Check Day for the military.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the military, JB, because the Freedom Autosport team is racing in memory of Army Master Sergeant Peter Andrew McKenna, known as Drew to his Green Beret buddies. Tragically, he died in an attack on a NATO facility in Kabul, Afghanistan on Friday, August 7th. Freedom Autosport team owner Derek White is his brother-in-law. Marine Lieutenant Colonel Tim Anderson served with McKenna in Afghanistan. He brought that story to the attention of the team, and they are memorializing a fallen warrior this weekend. You see the leg up Liam message to their colleague on the racetrack. Liam Dwyer, unable to race due to a minor medical condition. Keep the leg up, get well, and we'll see you at the next race. Liam.
Tom Long in the 8th position. The 26 car of Andrew Carbonell sits in 4th spot, which will get him the championship lead tonight if the positions remain the same. Spencer continues to lead Pumpelly in the number 17 RS1 Porsche. We're hearing further fuel dominoes are starting to fall. Billy Johnson, we're hearing, is on the radio saying he's going to hit pit lane.
Billy Johnson was just in pit lane, took fuel. He too stalled on the way out, but not nearly as long as Trent Hinman's problem was. He's back out and headed down towards turn 1.
11 minutes left to play right now. The pressure is being kept on by Brett Sandberg on the Nissan of Zacharias in front, but yet another car is heading towards pit lane, I understand.
That's the number 9 of Lawson Aschenbach in the Stevenson Camaro.
You'd have to think these two leaders are going to have to follow suit. I mean, 10 minutes still on the board. That's a long, long way. 5-6 laps.
If I was Brett Sandberg, I'd just throw the dice and hope that the minute that Zacharias hits the pit lane, he can probably try and conserve a lot of fuel, Calvin.
The key is if you suddenly see a gaggle of traffic and then jump in, that could be the one advantage you could see happening and playing your way. That guy's going to get that traffic, going to fight it. I get in and out of the pits. Maybe that's enough of a difference.
Yeah, only counting, of course, on the fact that right now, Calvin, we understand that the Aston has a smaller disadvantage on fuel than the Nissan, correct?
And the big thing is, how brave do you get with that splash? Do you give them 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds?
Yeah.
That's when you have to roll the dice.
Do you let it run so empty that you have the same problem as Trent Hinman and you can't get the car going? So, Trent Hinman, I meant to say.
Looking for the 9 in pit lane. We understand they are there now. Jamie, they're headed your way.
That's right, and conserving fuel was not part of the strategy for this number 9 team. The team telling Lawson Aschenbach before he got in that you're just going to have to go for it. So fuel only, no stall here, Lawson's out.
That was a lot of fuel. They definitely were not conservative there.
8 or 9 seconds worth. Another break coming up. Coming up on 9 minutes to go. We'll take you to the checkered flag when we come back. Back at VIR, lead 2 cars in the Grand Sport class squirming under braking for turn 1. BJ Zacharias in the Nissan, Brett Sandberg in the Aston Martin.
The engineers are squirming on their seats on the pit stands too, Bob, because everyone's going to be really tight on fuel here. The one guy you have to think about is Matt Plum. He is so smart. That crew is so smart. Sitting there in the 3rd spot, the number 13 Run Bum machine, some 9 seconds behind these leaders right now. Has he been playing the fuel conservation mode right from the get-go, Justin?
Yeah, we just said in the break, I think maybe 30 minutes ago, we started to see, I mean, definitely them position themselves. They can see him in their mirrors if they bother to look, and he doesn't want to get any closer than that because he probably can't do it on the road, but if he does have literally 2 or 3 liters more in the tank, he could really be the one to scoop the top of the podium here.
Be a huge swing, too.
Yeah, at worst, he's on the podium. You know, and that's pretty good positioning for them. Brian?
Just walked down and talked to Kevin Doran. I looked at him on the pit box. He just looked at me and shook his head no. I said, are you going to come in? And he looked at me and shook his head no.
Well, hopefully they'll come in one way or the other after the checker or before, and not run out on the racetrack. But at this stage, you just got to roll the dice. I mean, you just got to keep going until it coughs, till it hits the reserve, and hit pit lane, and keep your fingers crossed.
Robin Liddell in the class leading Stevenson Camaro Z28R, currently shown in 5th place. We understand Matt Plum in the Rum Bum portion of a 13 has been told to save fuel.
Well, I think that message will have been going on for about an hour, but
yeah.
He's probably reinforcing that message, just to save as much as you can.
I think they're listening to us and going, all right, let's just put a little red herring out there.
What are you hearing, Jamie?
Well, Matt's been running on lean since the beginning of his stint. The team just had him go to full lean, so he's saving as much as he possibly can. I'd asked Joe Vardy what the plan was to make a pit stop, and he said, we're not going to make one until we absolutely have to. They're going to go as far as they can to the end of this race, hope for a caution, and just see what happens.
Oh, boy.
That's the only play at this point. You just got to keep going with it. I mean, you'd expect to see a caution at this stage as we see the crew there, Joe Vardy on the left and Hugh Plum on the right. They just believe that everyone ahead of them is in the same book.
Well, Matt Plum is doing as he was ordered. His lap times have dropped by another couple of seconds. He's now more than 10.5 seconds behind Brett Sandberg in 2nd. But if he has enough fuel to go the distance, he might wind up on the top of the podium.
So a short minute ago, excuse me, with Rob Liddell getting pretty aggressive there and defending that position to Billy Johnson. And they were talked about that at the drivers' meeting this morning in terms of how defensive you get. They said, okay, if you want to defend position and take the defensive line, don't come asking us for a penalty call if someone pushes you out of the way. And Rob Liddell was quite perturbed about that. He said, we're the championship leader. He said, I'm 7 miles an hour slower than the competitors down the straightaway. What sort of position are you putting me in? So he and Bill Barfield, the race director, had a lengthy conversation. Robin was pretty cool about it. He said, I'm just trying to identify the rules here.
Yeah, you see what Billy Johnson behind Robin Liddell there. That's a case of two cars that have got no rear grip. They're both sliding every time they come off the corners. They're both trying to manage their cars right now. This is pretty tough.
Tell me when the fuel light comes on solid.
Pretty much this lap, it says.
Well, that
2
was
laps
Kevin
shy,
Doran.
basically,
if they're out. 2 laps to go, 4 minutes. A 2-minute lap here. They're going to be so close. They could be coming in on the white flag lap here, potentially. Incredible.
There's the fuel man with nothing to do.
Brett Sandberg has 10 seconds in hand over Matt Plum.
+9 to P3. You need to work P3. He's full speed, though. Rump up.
No, maybe not full speed.
He doesn't need full speed if when the Zacharias comes in, if you say, Calvin, he's probably got 2 laps to go, he can be pretty economical over those last couple of laps.
Well, this is an indicator of the speed he's dropping. ST cars are going by him right now.
Yeah.
That's one of the hard Hondas.
Brett's basically like a cat toying with a mouse there. He doesn't need to take a risk going by, because if he's coming in this lap, he just needs to save his own fuel.
Oh, there he goes.
Sandberg's by. We just want to make it back pit.
He's done, I think. Got a big issue. It's going to be huge for the run bump machine. They're going to be up to second. Then they've got to see if they can make it. Well, they should see the white flag at the end of this lap. 99 is on reserve, we're hearing. So remember, the call said if you hit reserve, you're going to have to pit. So if he takes those commands, the 99 is going to be rolling down pit lane with the white flag coming out.
But he's going to go very slow through here. He's hardly going to be in.
We talked about it, that 13 car, they're a canny bunch. Have they pulled the real magic moment right here? If they can get another lap and a half.
So what do you tell? If you're Joe Vardy, what are you telling Matt Plum right now? You don't need to nail it. He's going to pit ahead of you. There's Joe speaking to Matt right now.
Catch him? Can he catch him?
And that's the question I'm asking.
On reserve.
What helps Rob Liddell is that he's going to pass the 14 car. If the 14 had come in, took a splash, and got back out there, he would have still been in that buffer in the points we talked about at the beginning of the day. So this is helping by the guys running out of fuel. It's helping the 6 car march back up the order a little bit.
Go get that guy. You go get him.
Now they're telling Matt Plum to get after it. He's probably thinking the same thing you are, Calvin. If Liddell's going to pick up a spot, we better pick up one as well.
99's in, so 13's going to take the white flag and have the lead.
Oh, so
there it is.
close.
Yeah. White flag comes out.
Oh.
We talked about it. If anyone's going to make the right calls here, it always seems to be this team. As the 14 is stranded on the racetrack.
Get back.
Sandberg should have stayed out. Oh, no. Sandberg should have stayed out. I was just about to say, if Zacharias stops on track, Sandberg has to stay.
Race, full course yellow.
But remember, they said you don't have a lap left. But under yellow.
Under full course yellow.
They were looking for a podium, though, so that's a tough one.
Oh, the 99, we are told, went the length of the pit lane without stopping.
Brilliant. Brilliant call by them.
To hold their position. Robin Liddell, meanwhile, moves up to 4th, going by the 14. So.
Man, you got to slow down. Safety car speed.
Oh, my gosh. Matt Plum's 22nd career victory, extending his own record. Oh, issue here for one of the RS1 cars. That's the 18.
Raymond Rashidi.
Yeah, sister
got
car.
into it, but Foss is now up to 2nd.
Was there contact there?
This is another big swing. We talked about the 9-point swing that we saw at Road America. Rumbum win here today and managed to hang on here, and they've got enough fuel in the tank to get to the line. And if the 6 car finishes in 4th, I think that's going to be another 7-point swing.
Meanwhile, there's Spencer Pompelli, who will win in ST.
Good for him. I'm pleased they are. That was such a rough last race for them.
Oh my gosh.
On days like today, though, I get nervous about announcing anything until they get there.
Well, good point. Yeah, everything's provisional until it's not. There's Zacharias. Porsche Rapid Response Vehicle on site. Joe Vardy.
The other crazy thing is the 9 car runs in the 3rd spot. Because it's under yellow, they can't pull in team orders and get the 6 ahead of the 9. You can't pass under caution.
You still got to take the flag.
That would have been a couple of extra points they could have picked up to minimize the damage to these guys from Rum Bum Porsche. Let's see Joe Vardy's reaction when the caution comes out.
Just the way he drew it up.
All right, we'll take it. Yep.
Whether on the pit box or in the car, that is a pair of sweaty plums, I'll tell you that, to pull that off. Good job.
A lot of fun to hang around with.
I tell you what, the call would have been made as soon as Matt Plum got in that race car. They'd have looked at the clock and said, okay, if we don't get any caution, we're going to be shy on fuel. Start saving now.
Fantastic. Great job. You called it, Calvin. I have to say you're quite good at this. You might have a career in this if you carry on.
You heard Joe Vardy tell Matt Plum, you remember, you got to take the flag. Don't hit the pit lane yet.
That's been done before here. So Mike Rockenfeller ease off before the line.
Checkered flag waves, and it's official.
Everybody to the winner's circle.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Yeah. Don and their mother celebrating 99.
The 99 did not take fuel at the end, and
that is going to help Rob Nadell.
Yep. He'll move up a spot into third. Behind
Is he on the racetrack? I'm assuming he hasn't crossed the stripe. Where is he on the track?
He's got to get there first. There's Spencer Pumpelly. He has taken the flag to win ST. Wondering where the 9 is.
That's huge. That's a 2-point swing for Liddell.
Liddell and Andrew Davis, who started the car.
So it'll be a 5-point swing in the points tonight. So it'll be down to 10 points, I believe, for the GS Championship with 2 rounds to go.
And that's why we're so concerned about these numbers, because there are only 2 races to go. Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. And then the finale at the Petit Le Mans weekend at Road Atlanta.
See, that call by the 99, if they took a splash, they would have beat the 6.
Yeah.
Is Spencer out?
Is he out of gas?
He's out of the way.
Oh, hopefully he's waiting for a spot to do a donut here, I'm hoping, because this would be heartbreak 2 weeks in a row.
Oh, no. Well, we'll take a moment to re-rack and recap when we return to VIR. Stay with us. Back at Virginia International Raceway, a very tired Matt Blum climbs out of the Rum Bum Porsche after his record-extending 22nd career victory. I mentioned the next round of the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge comes your way Sunday, September 27, 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1 from Austin, Texas. Here's a look at the unofficial results. The Plums up top.
Well, it was a crazy day. Certainly a big shake-up in those positions right in the final few minutes of the race.
The 14, by the way, finished 8th in class and 23 overall. Here's a look at the Street Tuner class.
Finally, redemption for Spencer Pumpelly and Rodriguez Jr. Great win for them at the top of ST. Jamie?
Well, the celebration going on in Victory Lane right now. Matt, I know you're exhausted. I saw you shaking when you were still behind the wheel of the car. How physically demanding was this race for you today?
Well, I got to say, I mean, thanks to Continental Tire, I didn't think that they were going to last. Sorry, I'm a little bit dizzy, but I don't think the Porsches were designed for no power steering. So, but man, what a great car, what a great team. It's another one of those situations where you just don't want to let these guys down. Week after week, they put their best in, and we can't be babies and give up as drivers.
You're now only 10 points out of the championship lead. Brian?
For Luis Rodriguez, Spencer Pumpelly, 3rd win on the season, guys. Great job. And Spencer, it seems like the strategy was absolutely perfect. Closing laps, any shades, memories of Road America going on?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say for sure. We for sure were thinking about that every corner, every lap. And man, I have to say to our 18 teammate, I feel so bad for them. We had a great one too. He drove really well, but Luis Rodriguez again did an awesome job at the start. Our pit stop was the key to getting us out towards the front. Continental Tires, as always, were just phenomenal. And we really had an uneventful day. And after last race, I think that was okay.
Porsche came and takes another victory in CTSC. This time at hands of the 17.
What a rookie season young Luis Rodriguez Jr. is having. As we take a look at Grand Sport class points.
Well, it's a 9-point swing at Road America. We see another 5-point swing today. 10-point lead, 2 rounds to go. Game on.
Question about it. And in the ST class.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Carbonelli right there heading up at the top. It's still Carbonell, sorry. It's still very, very close. Only 15 points behind for Eric Foss. This is a tight run championship.
What a day here at Virginia International Raceway. So as you pointed out, Calvin, game on as we go to Circuit of the Americas. You want to make an early prediction?
Well, you know, you hate to start talking about the rules and regulations, but when you look at the Camaro here, down the straightaways, we go to 2 tracks at Coda, Petit Le Mans, Road Atlanta, as you see the schedule, remaining schedule. I mean, they're 2 tough tracks to defend along straightaways, so it's not going to be easy for that Stevenson group to hang on. There's a lot of quick cars out there.
But you know what, we're seeing teams really employ the best strategies. There's a little bit of fate involved. There's a lot of contact, great racing. And I promise I will not put an I on the end of anyone's name. Or even call a Jaeger a Jaeger, all right? Or a Jaeger a Jaeger. Sorry about that, guys.
All right, Belly.
Want to remind you once again that next race from the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas is coming your way Sunday, September 27th, 4 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. A beautiful, if a tad warm weekend here at VIR. The track looks absolutely spectacular after recent work. There's a lot more to come here. Rated one of the top 6 in the country by Car and Driver magazine.
Fantastic crowd here as well. I mean, they were just coming in droves here right before the green flag here today. Great to see sports car racing back in the way it is.
And they really, Connie, has the owner of the track, has this desire to establish this as one of the best tracks in the country, to put it in the same ranks as Sebring and Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca, and I think they're well on their way.
2 races to go in the season. If you get a chance, come on out and see us. Otherwise, look for us here on Fox Sports 1. For Calvin Fish, Justin Veld, Brian Till, and Jamie Howe, I'm Bob Varsha. So long from Virginia International Raceway in Alton, Virginia.